Welcome back to CEO Money. I'm Michael Yorba, your host. Thanks for joining us. David Miller, lunch with 4interestingpeople.com. David, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Michael.
All right. You are consulting financial advisors and with knowledge of profits for individuals for the last 28 years. And then you come up with lunch with 4 interesting people. Give us a brief background on you and then tell me how this is different than a network bar.
Well, it's a concept that we came up with. I was working with a client, and he's a financial advisor in California. And I worked with him on a consulting basis to build his business. And we were sharing a forum one day and on a stage, and somebody asked him, I've heard about this lunch with 4 interesting people, Doug. What percentage of your business did you grow or did you get by going through this process? And he replied, 45%. They said, how did you get the balance of the 55%? He said, through referrals from the 45%. So he's built a multi-million-dollar business over the last 10 years, which is a relatively short period of time, in Southern California by simply sitting down and having lunch with 4 people and getting to know them on a personal level. So different than the networking where it's very focused on the business, what you can do for me, not necessarily what I could do for you. This is a process where we simply sit down and get to know people.
Okay. So that's the premise behind Lunch with 4 Interesting People. How do you know this works to connect with people and develop meaningful relationships? I understand the track record just ran out, but there's got to be something more than, okay, I know you have four children and your mother grew up next to my cousin. There's something else, a mix here that really makes it work. Because every time you meet somebody, it doesn't turn into a financial result. There's something else going on that makes this so successful.
Well, it's interesting. I saw a TED Talk the other day, and maybe it explained it a little bit on a scientific level. Said the thing that makes us happiest and gives us the most longevity in life is the relationships that we have with people and really connecting. So actually right to the point where you're sitting there and you're having a conversation face-to-face, eyeball to eyeball, not on our computers, not through LinkedIn or any other means, but literally communicating with individuals, understanding what they're trying to say to us, it releases endorphins in our brain and we're happier for it. And I think that's part of the secret. And when you have lunch with 4 people, you don't connect with everybody.
No.
You don't hit it off with everybody. But there's 2, 3, sometimes 4, maybe only 1 sometimes, but those people you connect with and the relationship goes to that next level. And interestingly enough, sometimes you've got 4 people there plus yourself. It's 2 other people that are there that are connected and do business. We've had $100 million real estate transactions go down that the financial advisor who invited the people to didn't benefit from one way or another, but obviously the realtor and the person looking to purchase the property were extremely happy with what happened in that lunch and what transpired.
All right, now you're working to complement social media with this process. Bring that out for us.
Well, yes, exactly. I mean, it's actually fascinating for me over the last year listening to all the things that people who've worked for Facebook, Zuckerberg himself, have said about wanting to make the world a better place. And they're all struggling with this because the pendulum has swung so far towards online interaction. And I think, it's very plain as the nose on their face that what we're missing here is actually sitting down and communicating with people. So we're using social media to connect and to advertise and promote, but then we're saying, let's go have a lunch and let's talk and let's share some ideas and let's get to know each other.
Okay.
Ed? Yeah. Hi, David. Ed Baxter, Bison Creek Capital. I think there's one word that kind of describes what you're doing more than anything else, and that word is time. The time you give people, the time you spend with people, the time that you communicate with people makes a difference. And being a person who has multiple millennials in my family, the one thing I think that helps them is the fact when Dad sits down with them and actually talks to them about what's going on in lieu of either texting them or calling them. And so I think looking at what you're doing from a business standpoint is kind of a throwback to a certain extent because people are starving for time.
I agree 100%, and you could say it's a throwback. I look at it as maybe not so much as a throwback as the next wave, or how that pendulum swings back and forth, and how people are craving those interactions. The stories I get are phenomenal. People connect, they get jobs, they develop relationships. I've got a guy in Atlanta who does this on a regular basis, and he says after every event, everybody wants to have a big hug and go away and then get together next week. Well, they're not going to get together the next week necessarily, but that's the human need that we're satisfying by doing this, and the connections that we're developing.
Would you argue that it has similar psychodynamics as a foursome when you're playing 9 holes or 18 holes of golf? Because you can learn a lot about a person playing golf with them, for that number of hours you're playing, and it seems like psychologically this kind of plays into that.
Well, totally. And, so often business people will say, let's get together and play some golf. We need some more people to make up our foursome, or a couple of people, or one person, and then they really get to know those individuals. And I don't play a lot of golf, but I can look back in my life and the times I did play golf and the relationships I developed and connected with during those, 2 dozen times that I've gone out and played golf in my life. So you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right.
What demographic is most appealing, or does your product appeal to the most? Thank you.
Well, it's interesting because we've tried. I tell the hosts, the people that are inviting the people to the events, not to overthink it. So we've had 20-year-olds, 20-some-year-olds attend an event. One of them was extremely interesting. He was developing a startup that was a biotech startup, and what he had was fascinating for everybody at the table. We've had retired gentlemen with some fascinating hobbies. We've had some retired people that run charities and organizations, and we've had everything in between. I think the basic fundamentals of human beings is we want to connect, we want to have conversations that are meaningful, and on the long run, we actually want to develop relationships that are meaningful. And I think that appeals to everybody. We could classify millennials or baby boomers one way or another, or the next generation, but I think we all have that need, and we all have that need to connect with people and have those relationships.
Okay. How does one start up with what you're doing?
Well, initially, we developed this for financial advisors, as we said. We now have people across North America from a variety of different occupations. So we have financial advisors, insurance people, we have headhunters, accountants, lawyers, a variety of individuals doing it. And we have an app. We've recently launched an app. We still say it's in beta, but it's working very well. And anybody can go who wants to be a guest to one of these, register for free at lunchwith4interestingpeople.com. The 4 is the number 4. And they can register as a guest, and we have hosts starting every day in different parts of the country looking to invite guests and get them participating. If they want to be a host, they can also register as a host on the site, or give us a call and we'll help them out, and we'll give them some training and some insight on exactly how to invite the people.
Do you have hosts here in Dallas?
We do have a host in Dallas. Absolutely.
Okay. I just wanted to know.
And he actually emailed me this morning and said he's just getting started. He said, I'm ready to do my first lunch, and he's got his location picked out. And what we do is normally we send out a menu with the invitation so people can pick out exactly what they want, so that's not going to be a distraction during the lunch, and just make it that much more enjoyable and relaxed.
David, we got to run, but thank you for being a guest, and I wish you and your host in Dallas all the best.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome. David Miller, lunchwith4interestingpeople.com. You've been listening to CEO Money with Michael Yorba and Ed Baxter. Don't forget, we have podcasts every place that you can pick up these conversations with. Segment's been brought to you by Choice Trade.